Picture this, the biggest stage in the tech world, the Innovate AI Summit. That man on stage, soaking in the applause, is my boss, Mark. He's taking a bow for the AI I built in my garage after my kids went to bed. He's bathing in the light of 1,000 camera flashes, thinking he's won, that he's erased me from the story. What he doesn't know is that a single, pre-scheduled email sent to every major journalist and VC in the room the moment he walked on stage is about to cost him everything. This isn't just a story about a stolen idea. It's a story about the ultimate backup plan. To get how we ended up here, we need to rewind about a year. I was a senior AI developer at a company called FutureSynth, and I genuinely loved my job. I wasn't just a coder. I felt like an architect of digital dreams. My world was all about algorithms, neural networks, and constantly asking what if. For 2 years, my biggest what if was a project I nicknamed Nexus. It was more than a project, it was my obsession. Nexus was a predictive AI engine, but it was different. While other AIs were making educated guesses based on past data, Nexus was designed to model chaos. It could take seemingly unrelated global events, a shipping delay in the Suez Canal, a viral tweet, a sudden weather shift, and predict the ripple effects on the stock market with groundbreaking accuracy. It was a huge deal, a tool so powerful it could reshape industries. And I built it, not on company time, but on my own time. The architecture was sketched out on coffee-stained napkins at 3 a.m., the core logic refined on my personal laptop while my family was asleep. My boss, Mark, was the Senior VP of Innovation. He had the perfect corporate resume, a dazzling smile, and a handshake that felt like a promise. He was a master of taking credit and didn't really get the how of technology, but he was obsessed with the what it could do for his career. I'll admit, I was a bit naive. I thought great work spoke for itself. In our one-on-ones, I'd show Mark my progress on Nexus, my screen filled with code and data visualizations. His eyes would light up. "This is revolutionary, Alex," he'd say, clapping me on the shoulder. "Keep this under wraps. This is our ticket to the big leagues." I should have paid more attention to that word, our. I was so caught up in the thrill of creation that I mistook his ambition for a shared passion. I sacrificed everything for Nexus, thinking I was building the company's future. Turns out, I was just building Mark's ladder. The change was subtle at first. I, the guy who actually built Nexus, was suddenly being left off the calendar invites for high-level strategy sessions about it. When I asked Mark, he'd just wave it off. "Don't worry, Alex, just boring executive stuff. You keep your head down and work your magic. I'll handle the politics." Then my access to things started getting weird. A shared folder with my simulations was moved to a senior management drive I couldn't open. Mark said IT was restructuring for security and told me to just email him the files directly. He was isolating the project, cutting me off from it piece by piece. The dread finally hardened into certainty one evening when I saw him practicing a presentation in a vacant conference room. Through the glass, I saw a slide with my unique neural network architecture on it, a design as personal to me as my own handwriting. But my name wasn't there. It just said, "The Nexus Engine, innovated by FutureSynth." The final nail in the coffin came a week before the Innovate AI Summit. Mark called me into his office, looking all sympathetic. He sat me down and started explaining my own project back to me, but with key details wrong, the kinds of mistakes someone makes when they've been briefed on a topic but don't truly get it. "So, Alex," he began, "I've had a breakthrough on Nexus. I've decided we should reroute the data flow through a standard predictive model. It's more stable." It was a horrible idea. It would have lobotomized the AI, stripping away the chaos modeling that made it special. I tried to explain, "Mark, that won't work. The whole point of Nexus is that it avoids standard modeling." He held up a hand. "Alex, I appreciate your input. You've done some great foundational work here, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'll be presenting Nexus at the summit next week. It's going to be huge for us, he said it so calmly. Foundational work, like I'd just laid a few bricks for the cathedral he was now taking credit for. I just stared at him. He wasn't collaborating, he was informing me. He'd taken my dream, my sacrifice, my genius, and slapped his name on it. In that moment, the anger didn't explode. It compressed into a single, diamond-hard point of clarity. Arguing was useless. He had the corporate power. But I had been preparing for this exact kind of betrayal for years. My backup plan didn't start when Mark stole my idea. It started on my first day at Future Synth. In the mountain of onboarding paperwork, there was the standard intellectual property clause. It basically said any invention related to the company's business, made on or off company time, belonged to them. It's a standard, scary clause. But a mentor of mine had been burned by a clause just like that years ago. His advice was etched in my memory. Always build your own legal fences. So I did something most people don't. I negotiated. I had them add an amendment, a simple page called a prior invention exclusion. It was a list of my personal projects and concepts that I was declaring as my pre-existing property. On that list, I put a vague but legally sound description: advanced predictive modeling systems and chaos theory-based algorithms for market analysis. It was Nexus before it even had a name. They agreed without a fuss. It was my first fence. Months later, as Nexus took shape on my personal laptop, that old mentor's voice echoed again. The idea felt too big to leave unprotected. So one Saturday afternoon, on my own dime, I went to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website. I didn't file a full, expensive patent. I filed a provisional patent application. A provisional patent is like planting a flag. It's a legally recognized, time-stamped claim to an invention that establishes your priority date as the inventor. It cost me a few $100 and a couple of hours to write up the core concepts of Nexus. It officially established me as the inventor on a specific date, months before Mark even knew what it was. Combined with my employment contract carve-out, this was my secret weapon. Now, with Mark getting ready for his big show, my plan kicked into high gear. The weeks before the summit were pure dramatic irony. He needed my help to prepare the presentation because he didn't understand the tech. I played the part of the beaten down but cooperative employee perfectly. I helped him craft speaking points. I designed his slides. I was his accomplice in a crime I was about to prosecute, and with every slide I built, I was just making the stage for his public humiliation that much grander. The day of the conference was electric. This was a huge industry event, packed with the brightest minds, the deepest pockets, and the most influential journalists. Mark was the keynote. Backstage, he was radiating a smug confidence that made me sick. He saw me and gave me a condescending wink. "Wish me luck, Alex. Today's the day our hard work pays off." I just smiled. "You have no idea," I muttered. The lights dimmed, and Mark walked on stage to a huge round of applause. The presentation was titled Nexus, The Future of Predictive Analytics by Mark Reynolds. He began speaking, using the exact phrases I wrote. He moved through the slides I designed. I stood at the back of the auditorium, my heart pounding with a cold, thrilling sense of justice. He reached his finale, the slide showing Nexus's incredible performance. With Nexus, he declared, arms spread wide, "We have mastered the future." The applause was thunderous. Then came the Q&A. A friend of mine, a developer from another company, stood up at a microphone. "An incredible presentation, Mr. Reynolds," she began politely. "I have a technical question. Your diagram showed a recursive feedback loop for processing chaotic inputs. Can you explain how the model avoids overfitting when dealing with tertiary data decay in that loop?" Silence. Mark's smile faltered. I'd given him that exact term, but had deliberately left out the explanation. It was a lock I hadn't given him the key for. He stammered, "Well, the synergy of the loop is..." It's optimized. He was drowning. The audience started shifting uncomfortably. The whispers began. As he fumbled, I pulled out my phone and triggered the scheduled email. Instantly, the phones of every journalist and VC on my curated list buzzed. The subject, exclusive, the true inventor of the Nexus AI engine. The email gave a short summary and a link not to a public patent database, but to a secure folder I controlled. Inside was a copy of my provisional patent application, officially timestamped by the USPTO months ago, alongside dated code repositories and my signed employment agreement with the prior invention exclusion page highlighted. A ripple went through the room as people looked at their phones. A confused murmur grew into a shocked wave of sound. On stage, Mark's face went from confused to pale as he saw the CTO of a major rival stare at his phone, then up at him with a look of pure contempt. As he tried to exit the stage amidst the growing chaos, a man in a sharp suit, a lawyer I had retained, calmly intercepted him by the steps. He handed Mark a set of documents. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, his voice just loud enough for those nearby to hear. "You are hereby served with a cease and desist for unauthorized use of proprietary intellectual property and a notice of pending litigation." The camera flashes started firing like gunshots. Mark stared at the papers, his face projected 20 feet high, crumpling from smug confidence into raw, naked panic. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. The summit wasn't talking about AI anymore. They were talking about the spectacular implosion of Mark Reynolds. My email and the evidence became the biggest story in tech news for weeks. The narrative was irresistible. The slick manager brought down by the quiet developer he tried to erase. The CEO of FutureSynth called, furious at the public humiliation Mark had caused. Our lawyers talked. My legal fence held up. The contract carve-out and the timestamp patent application made my claim to ownership of Nexus incredibly strong. Mark was fired, his reputation in the industry shattered. His story became a cautionary tale told in boardrooms. FutureSynth, desperate to control the damage and get their hands on Nexus, made me an incredible offer: EVP title, a huge salary, a multi-million-dollar budget, and full control over a Nexus division. It was tempting, but I realized that even as a king, I'd still be in the same castle where betrayal was part of the culture. The following Monday, I politely declined. I had a better offer. One of the top-tier VCs from the front row had contacted me. "I don't just bet on good tech, Alex," he told me over coffee. "I bet on smart, tough founders. Anyone who can build an AI that powerful and a legal trap that perfect is someone I want on my team." Over the next several months, I went from Alex Reed, senior developer, to Alex Reed, the founder and CEO of Nexus AI, a new company backed by a $12 million seed round. My name was on the patent, on the incorporation documents, and on the door of our new office. I learned that good work doesn't always speak for itself. Sometimes you need a bulletproof backup plan. I set out to build a company based not just on brilliant ideas, but on integrity, where innovation would be celebrated and credit would always be given where it was due. And that's the story of how the worst moment of my professional life became my greatest success. It taught me that in a world full of marks, the best defense is to be smarter, more prepared, and to always own your genius. If you believe in justice for creators, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. And let me know in the comments, have you ever had to create a backup plan for your career? What would you have done in my shoes? I'd love to hear your story. Thanks for watching.